Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. Welcome to Within the Frame, where we delve deeper into the top stories taking place not only in South Korea but across the globe. I'm Kim Bo-kyung. 2023 is a major year for the Korean American community. It is the 70th anniversary of the Mutual Defense Treaty signed between the United States and South Korea following the end of the Korean War. It is also the 120th anniversary of the first Korean immigrants arriving in Honolulu, Hawaii. Though it started as a small group, just a little over 100 people, around 1.8 million Korean Americans now call the United States home. Korean Americans found success in various fields, and the U.S. House of Representatives is no exception. Today, as part of the celebration of the ironclad ties between South Korea and the United States, and as part of efforts to show respect to the history of the Korean American community, we have on the line a very special guest, Republican Representative Michelle of California's 45th Congressional District, who has won election for a second term in Orange County. Representative, thank you for your time and welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me today.
Now, first of all, congratulations for once again successfully winning a second term in Orange County. Why don't we start off by focusing on the start of your political career? From housewife to U.S. Congresswoman, when were you inspired to become politically active?
You know, actually, my personality is very shy. I was born in Korea and I went to school, high school and junior high and high school and college, 1 year of college in Japan. So I have very shy personality and I couldn't even talk in front of two people. And we came here, my father was a diplomat and he was the one actually heard my pronunciation in Japan. He said, you better go to America and learn proper English. That's the reason that he sent me here. And then he passed away, so my mom came, and with my two younger sisters. And, you know, my mom was a teacher all her life in Korea and Japan. But when you come here to the United States and you don't speak English, guess what you do? She ended up opening men's clothing shop in downtown Los Angeles. So, you know, we worked 7 days a week. I went to school 7 o'clock in the morning and 7 at night. And 7 days, it was just really hard work. And then my mom said, why don't we move on to 5 working days at a building sandwich shop? So that's what happened. A few months later, State Board of Equalization, it's a state tax agency, and they hit my mom that you used to pay this much sales tax, you didn't pay enough, so you cheated. When you're first generation, what do? You pay the tax that you didn't owe, plus interest and penalty on the top of it. So when that seat opened up, I told my husband I'm running because I can help small business owners much better than anybody else. That's the reason that I started.
Wow. Now, Congresswoman, I had a chance to see your interview where you said your husband's jaw dropped when you told him that you would run for the seat. And the reason Mr. Steele brought up was your first-generation accent. Now, I'm sure there must have been some tough moments, like you said before, for you. But as Korean-American and first-generation immigrant going into U.S. politics, what were your strengths and what motivated you the most to keep on going?
You know what? I had a compassion. My husband's jaw dropped because he's been in politics since he was 14, and he knows how tough it is. And he thought that, Michelle, it's going to be very, very tough work. So I'd rather not you do it, because my dream was I want to be a housewife because my mom was a teacher all her life. So when kids come home, my mother, you know, when I came home, my mom was never at home. So when my kids come home, I want to wear white apron, and then, you know, I bake cookies, and I want to be a housewife. So my husband knew that, and he said, I don't think you want to be in politics. That's the reason that his jaw dropped. But I knew that I can help small business owners, and especially Asian American community. About 70% owned small businesses at that time. So I wanted to help innocent, hardworking taxpayers. So I said, I'm running. You know what? Whenever I said I'm running for any positions, my husband is just right there and support me no matter what I do.
Wow, it's so great to hear how your husband always supports you and how, small business owners and Korean Americans, that is, wanted you to motivate you to keep on going. Now, next question too. The more the merrier, that is what you said when asked what you think about Korean American politicians and rival parties. Korean American representation in the U.S. politics is quite changing, with more and more Korean American politicians like yourself securing seats in the U.S. House. What significance do you believe such representation has for Korean Americans and U.S. politics as a whole?
Every community has different way of living. They have different traditions. They have different cultures. Especially Korean Americans, we have a very good work ethic, but we work very hard. Sometimes we really don't know what we are doing, or sometimes we don't know this is the right way or not. So when we have all these Congress members that, we understand Korean tradition, we understand Korean culture, and we know how to respect our elder generations. And we understand Korean Americans' bottom line is. So when we make the law and we introduce these bills, a lot of times actually four of us doing together. We have four Congress members in US, and two are Democrats and two are Republicans. But when we work for Korean American community, all four of us agree and we introduce the bills together. So when we need more, yes, we need more, because we can work together and make Korean Americans' lives better in the United States.
Wow, it's so touching to hear how four politicians can work as one. Congresswoman, this year marks the 120th anniversary of Korean immigration to the United States. And how would you say past 120 years was for Korean American immigrants? And what kind of difficulties do they face the most right now? And what policies have you and will you come up with to tackle such difficulties?
I think 130 years ago when they came, their difficulties were really different than now. That, they didn't speak English. They didn't have any, people to help them to settle down. And I think a lot of discriminations at that time. I was not there, so I don't know. But now that Korean American community is really, really big. So we have, I think, same concerns as mainstream, like inflations. We're talking about 8.5% in the United States, but when you go to the market, you can feel about 33%, I believe. And then how about gas prices, especially California? We have a high population, Korean American population living in California. It's very, very tough without car in Southern California, because you have to drop your kids off, you have to go to work. When gas price is really high, it really affects. It's exactly same as mainstream concerns. On the top of it, in California, we had a lot of propositions. Even I say Proposition 4757. You know what? In Korea, they don't know what I'm talking about. They really affected crime rate. So California's crime rate is going up. So we really have to support law enforcement, defend them, and support them. That's all same thing, because during last year when I and my volunteers knocked on the doors while we were campaigning, 193,000 houses, everybody has the same concerns, and it's not different with the Korean American community.
Right, I see. Now, Representative, tapping on a much broader sense, how do you see U.S.-South Korea relations moving forward, and what role do you believe Korean American representatives will be able to play to strengthen such bilateral ties?
You know what? We have a lot of things to do, because I'm on Ways and Means Committee. We really handle just almost everything, because this is the most powerful committee. But trade issue that we really have a problem with, because under a previous Trump administration, they changed the tariff regarding that, we are bringing steels from Korea. And now that it was not solved, so Korea has to pay much higher tariffs than, any other countries. So we really have to work together. So trade is the most important part. And for for the relationships on 130 a day, that Korean day, actually I was wearing hanbok on the floor and I spoke. We are actually encouraging people that who Korean Americans are, and then we go out there and then we try to be a diplomat. So we work together, and then we always hear from Korean government, especially UN administration, that what's the issue here and what we can solve as a lawmaker in the United States. So it's been changed a lot since we got 4 Congress members in the United States, and I think we are going very positive way, and especially United States and Korea, that we have a very strong relationship and we are building much stronger every day.
So those 4 representatives are working not only as lawmakers, but also as diplomats of representing South Korea. Now, I'd like to ask you more on several domestic issues in the United States as well. You have been included in the House Ways and Means Committee, one of the most influential and powerful committees, as I heard. What are your goals there?
You know what? Because of my mom had to pay tax that she didn't owe, plus the interest and penalty on the top of it, we handle all the tax matters at Ways and Means. So I always voted no on increasing taxes or creating taxes and try to stop reckless spending. On the top of that, between Korea and United States, trade issue is the most important part. So we're gonna work on that for the trade issues, that how we're gonna make it better so we can have better relationship. And how about North Korea? North Korea's been like last year, one day, they shoot about like 23 missiles on one day. So we really have to support each other to stop that North Korea's aggression. So that's what we're gonna work on it. So we have a lot of issues. And then actually domestic issues for Korean Americans. We work on the Social Security, Medicare, and other issues. So we have big or a lot of things on our plate that, we really have to solve. So, all 4 of us, a lot of times we don't vote together, but you know what? Korean issue, we always vote together.
Right. Congresswoman, I also would like to tap on the hate crimes against Asian Americans because the hate crimes have been on the rise as some attribute the COVID-19 pandemic to China, as the disease was first reported in the city of Wuhan. As a Korean American, but you're also Asian American as well, right? So how do you believe the U.S. House should tackle this violence shown toward these Asian Americans?
Actually, my first thing I did introduced was a resolution that condemned AAPI hate crime. I started that actually before when I was a supervisor in Orange County. At that time, I started that because in America, we have a lot of different people living together. So hate crime is nowhere and no place to stay in the United States. So that's why we're working on it. We have to work very close together. My bill was actually working with federal government law enforcement and state and local law enforcement, and they can share all these ideas. On the top of that, in my district, you know what I do? We're supposed not to do it, but I do a lot of self-defense classes to protect ourselves, that these people coming, try to attack, you have to be alert, and how you're gonna protect yourself. It should not happen, but we are doing it for prevention. But at the same time, we work very closely together with the law enforcement agencies because I have law enforcement advisory committee. So I meet all these chiefs once every 3 months, and we try to improve that, our well-being and life in, our district. So it's very, very important that you are working with the law enforcement closely. That's what we are doing here.
Right. It's so impressive how you said that violence should have no place to stay in the United States territory, but of course on the global territory as well. Now, shifting gears a little bit to international politics, I remember you tapped on the North Korean issue just ahead. After the Hanoi summit failed in 2019, there haven't been any productive talks between North Korea and the United States. How should Washington bring the reclusive regime back to the negotiating table, and what role do you believe South Korea could play?
You know what? When you have a stronger relationship between United States and South Korean government, especially Yoon administration, is, you know what? I heard that President Yoon is coming to United States, and I always welcome him to come. But you know what? Stronger relationship is going to build, and it's going to be the base, because someday the North Korea leader is going to come out to the table and try to talk about it. But as of now, that his aggression and shooting all these missiles, we have to make sure denuclearization is very important to North Korea, because North Korea is a very dangerous country. So we really have to work together. So United States and Korea's very strong relationship is going to prevent their aggression and then pull them out to the table. But you know what? In the whole world, everybody's watching right now, because when Russia attacked Ukraine, we had all these NATO countries next to Ukraine, but we knew that when Russian, military was building up on the border of Ukraine, it's going to happen. United States moved the way too late is the reason that we ended up spending tens of billions of dollars to protect, Ukraine. Right now in China, we are watching very closely, because China is threatening, Taiwan Strait. And when they attack Taiwan, South Korea is going to be dangerous too, and it's going to go down to Japan. Where are they going to stop? And United States, that military, the guiding, boundaries is going to be totally changed at that point. So United States has to stay really strong and watch it and tell them exactly what we are doing was the reason that we sponsored and we gave a lot of money to Ukraine to protect themselves, and we are sending a lot of war supplies too. That's the reason actually I introduced the bill that Land Lease Act for Taiwan, because when something happened, China attacked Taiwan, then we are ready to give all the war supplies to Taiwan. So we are working whole world, and North Korea is one of the one, and their aggression, we have to stop it and we have to pull them out. But when our relationship gets stronger, they're gonna come out and try to talk.
Right. Now that you have brought up the China-related issue, Congresswoman, you have been included as one of the 13 Republican members of the House Select Committee on Strategic Competition between the U.S. and the Chinese Communist Party. What key role are you going to play, and how should the United States approach China-related issues?
China is the biggest threat to the United States, and we've been watching that happen. We had the Confucius Institute, and they tried to influence all the students. Now that they are bringing the money to the schools, and they try to actually spy on the research, most important things. And then they are giving out their systems, especially for the ports in the United States. We are using Chinese tracking and data system. They know that all these military ships going in and out of the port. So China is very, very dangerous country. We really have to stop that. So I think we are not just working on that, try to stop China that infiltrate to universities, but at the same time, try to get rid of those systems that what we are using. Actually, South Korea and Japan are using it too, and South Korean government is actually discussing it about that, how they're gonna change that system. And then they are stealing all these technology and intellectual properties from the United States. We really have to stop that, because they are getting free ride, and they don't deserve that. On the top of it, actually, I'm on two different China committee. One is on executive committee. It's a bicameral, commission on China. That is that, we are watching over that what they are doing, human rights violations against Uyghur and Muslim, Christians, and minorities. So we really have to stop that too. So we are watching it very closely. This is a new committee, so we've been having just only 2 meetings, and we are having another meeting next week, and we're going to put the guidelines together, but most likely those surveillance balloons and, they are sending it. We really have to stop all these nonsense that, what China is creating. So that's what we're going to work on.
Right. It seems like you are going to have a lot of work to do as a member of the committee related to the China issue. Now, lastly, to South Korean, Korean American, and global viewers, are there any words that you would like to add?
You know what, Koreans, we are all smart. We work hard, great work ethics, and we never really rest, right? So we are all over the world that, we are part of their mainstream for each countries, wherever you are. We are the great asset. And I think Korea should work with all these people outside of Korea. Korea is going to be number one.
Right. It's really impressive to hear that Korea is number one, and that I should remind myself that I could be one of the assets that you talked about. All right. Unfortunately, this is all the time we have for today's edition. Representative Steele, it was a great honor to have a talk with you, and we do hope more voices from Korean American community could be heard through you. Now, we really appreciate your time and work. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me today.
All right, that's all for Within the Frame tonight. We'll be back on Thursday with more in-depth stories. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.